That mark, I know it.
Alexander Crane never looked waiters in the eye. To him, they were shadows that brought plates and disappeared. On that rainy Tuesday, he was in a modest restaurant in the city suburbs, a place he would never frequent were it not for a last-minute meeting with a nostalgic investor who insisted on reliving childhood memories. Alexander adjusted the Rolex on his wrist, looked out the foggy window, and sighed. 42 years old, CEO of one of the country's largest development firms, and eight-figure fortune, and a void in his chest that not even the finest Scotch whiskey could fill. He grew up in orphanages. He never knew who his parents were. He never wanted to know, or at least, that was what he repeated to himself. The woman who approached the table had gray hair tied in a messy bun, a worn-out uniform, and tired eyes that seemed to carry decades of visible weight. She held the order pad with trembling hands. When she leaned in to write down the order, her eyes fixed on Alexander's neck, more specifically on a small, crescent-shaped birthmark just below his right ear. The pen fell from her hands. The pad followed immediately after. Alexander looked up, annoyed. The woman was pale, her lips quivering, her eyes wide as if she had seen a ghost. She took 2 steps back, stumbled over a chair, and grabbed the edge of the table to keep from falling. "My God," she whispered, her voice cracking. "It's you." Alexander frowned. "Excuse me, are you okay? Do you need help?" She shook her head frantically, tears beginning to roll down her wrinkled face. "It can't be. It can't be you. That mark, I drew it 1,000 times in my... I never forgot it." Alexander felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't understand. The woman fell to her knees beside the table, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I had no choice. I was so young, so poor. I couldn't feed you. I left you at the church door with a letter. You had that mark. I named you Alexander because it was my grandfather's name. I never stopped thinking about it." The entire restaurant stopped. All eyes were on them. Alexander felt his world collapse. His breathing became heavy. His hands turned ice. He looked at the woman on the floor, that broken waitress, and something inside him screamed, You are my mother?" The woman nodded, unable to speak, just sobbing and repeating, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Alexander stood up abruptly, knocking over his chair. He walked out of the restaurant without looking back, leaving the woman crying on the floor. In the days that followed, Alexander couldn't sleep. He tried to bury himself in work, signing contracts, closing deals, but the image of that woman would leave his head. He hired a private investigator, James Halley, an ex-cop who now worked for wealthy clients solving mysteries they preferred to keep out of the courts. "I want to know everything about her," Alexander said, tossing a blurry photo of the waitress onto the table. "Everything. Why she abandoned me. What she did afterward. If she had other children. If she regretted it, or if she simply moved on." James returned a week later with a thick dossier and a somber expression. "Sit down. This isn't going to be easy." Her name was Elena Morales. She was 17 when she got pregnant with Alexander. The baby's father was an older man, who ran away when he found out about the pregnancy. Elena lived on the streets, sleeping in shelters, eating scraps from the trash. When Alexander was born, she tried. She really tried. She worked 3 jobs at the same time, carrying the baby on her back. But she couldn't afford milk, diapers, medicine. The baby was sick, malnourished, crying endlessly. She was afraid he would die, so she left him at the door of a church with a letter begging for someone to take better care of him. Then she could. After that, Elena lived in absolute misery. She never married. She never had other children. She worked as a cleaner, a garbage collector, a waitress. She saved every penny trying to one day hire someone to find the son she abandoned. But she never succeeded. Alexander listened to everything in silence. When James finished, he asked, "Did she know who I became?" He shook his head. "She never looked for you because she thought you would hate her. She just wanted to know if you were alive and well. And when she saw you in the restaurant, she recognized you by the birthmark that haunted her entire life." Alexander left the office, got into his car, and drove aimlessly. He thought about all the times he felt alone. All the nights he cried in the orphanage, wondering why he wasn't loved. He thought about the anger he carried for years, the certainty that he had been discarded like trash. But now, for the first time, he saw the other side. He saw a desperate, starving 17-year-old girl holding a baby she loved so much that she preferred to give him to strangers rather than watch him die in her arms. He saw a woman who spent 30 years carrying the guilt of an imposter. He returned to the restaurant that night. Elena was wiping tables, her face marked by exhaustion and sadness. When she saw him enter, she froze. He walked toward her slowly. She stepped back, terrified. "I didn't come here to hurt," Alexander said, his voice firm but gentle. "I came because I need to listen to you. I want to know everything. Not from an investigator's mouth, from yours." They sat at a table in the corner. Elena told him everything, every painful detail, every sleepless night, every time she imagined what the son she abandoned would be like. She showed him a faded photo she carried in her wallet, a tiny baby with a crescent-shaped birthmark. "I never forgot you. Not a single day." Alexander felt tears burning his eyes. He held her hand, that old, rough hand that once held him for the last time. "I forgive you," he said, "and I want you to be part of my life. Are you enjoying this story? Leave a like and subscribe to the channel." Now back to the story. 6 months later, Elena was no longer a waitress. Alexander bought a house for her, a small but cozy house with a garden she had always dreamed of having. He paid off her debts, her medical treatments, and invited her to work at the charity foundation he created in honor of their story. Elena began helping single mothers experiencing homelessness, offering shelter, food, and support. She used her pain to transform the lives of hundreds of women going through the same despair she had faced. Alexander changed too. He stopped seeing people as shadows. He started looking employees, delivery drivers, and doormen in the eye. He created social assistance programs at companies he ran. And for the first time in his life, he had a family. Not a perfect family, but a real family. A mother who loved him enough to let him go, and a son who loved her enough to bring her back. 3 years later, on Alexander's birthday, Elena baked a cake with her own hands. She never learned to cook well, but she made a point of it. When she placed the candles on the table, she smiled through her tears. "Thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for giving me a second chance." Alexander hugged his mother. "It wasn't a second chance, Mom. It was the first time we truly met. True wealth isn't in what you accumulate, but in who you forgive. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it liberates the future. And sometimes the most painful stories hide the greatest acts of love. If this story moved you, if you believe forgiveness has the power to heal wounds that time could not, leave a heart down below. I want to hear from you. Have you ever lived through the pain of abandonment or needed to forgive someone who hurt you deeply? Do you believe a mother can love so much that she would give up her own child to save him? Tell your story in the comments. If this story touched your heart, like if you believe true love survives time and distance. Subscribe so you don't miss stories that show that forgiveness is the greatest act of courage there is. Share with someone who needs to believe in second chances and the strength of true love. Comment, "I forgive because I love." Remember, it is never too late to rebuild bridges that the past has destroyed. Forgiveness frees the one who forgives and transforms the one who is forgiven. See you in the next video with another story.